We bring more than a paycheck to our loved ones and family. We bring more than a paycheck to our beloved ones and families.
My name is Steve Zeltzer. I'm with Labor Fest and Work Week. I produce a labor radio show in San Francisco, and I'm with Pacifica. And I want to welcome you all here today for a very important subject that we're going to be talking about, and that is the situation of injured workers, injured on the job. And this is an epidemic of injured workers in this country. Many of them are on the streets because they've lost their homes, they've lost their families, they're in dire straits. So I wanted to start this meeting with a moment of silence for the workers who've been injured on the job, have been suffering and continue to suffer, and some have actually committed suicide because of the conditions that they face. So let's have a moment of silence first. Labor Fest has been covering the situation of workers in this country and injured workers for many years. Labor Fest, for people who don't know, was founded in 1994 to commemorate the San Francisco General Strike in San Francisco. And this year actually is the 90th anniversary of the San Francisco General Strike, and also the General Strike in Minneapolis. And it's a result of those general strikes that the Bay Area is as organized as it is with unions. There's more union, membership in the Bay Area than most parts of the country. And of course, unions are under attack and workers are under attack in this country. We face an onslaught of union busting, of retaliation for whistleblowers. People are afraid to even complain about health and safety on the job for fear of getting fired. And these are not just non-union people, union members. In my union, when I was working, were afraid to complain for fear of retaliation. And we believe that this issue of workers' compensation, the corruption and corporate takeover of workers' compensation, and also OSHA, what is happening with OSHA, are important issues, because in California, there are 18 million workers here in California. There are less than 200 OSHA inspectors. Think about that, what that means. That means that you're not going to get protected from OSHA, that OSHA only comes really when somebody's killed on the job or dies on the job. And especially during COVID, we had a situation in this country where workers were getting sick, they weren't getting protection, they weren't getting PPE, in fact, you have this union buster, racist, Elon Musk at the Fremont Tesla factory, who kept people working even though there was a shelter-in-place order by the Department of Health in Alameda County. But he said he was above the law, basically. He said other small businesses were closed down. He kept that factory open, and that factory actually was a vector for the transfer of COVID, because a lot of the workers there can't afford to live in the Inner Bay Area. They take buses from Tesla to the Central Valley. So workers were getting COVID and then getting on a bus, enclosed space, no mask, and going to Central Valley, contaminating their families, contaminating people in Central Valley. I mean, it's a crime what has been happening. So I have been covering the issue of injured workers and workers' compensation for decades, actually. And in the course of that, what I found out is that the government agencies in California and the federal government have been captured by the companies that are supposed to regulate them. And I think what that means is workers, if they do make health and safety complaints and get retaliated, they have no protection. They lose their job, and also they're lied about by these companies. And we feel that there needs to be a national movement to protect injured workers, to demand health and safety on the jobs, and also against a corrupt government, basically, because these politicians are taking money from the insurance companies and the very people that we're fighting. They take money from them, and they do not enforce the laws that are in the bills. These laws to enforce health and safety, they're not being enforced. So one of the important struggles around health and safety in the United States in logistics, and we're going to have a panel at 1 p.m. on logistics and AI, is, of course, Amazon. Because Amazon is one of the biggest companies in the world. They employ a lot of workers, and the conditions of Amazon workers are pretty horrendous, what they face. So our first speaker is Adrienne Williams, and she was an Amazonian. She was organizing in Amazon. We actually had a work action at the San Leandro plant where people came and talked about what was going on at Amazon and the need for a union. And Adrian Williams has also become an expert on use of computers and technology and how it's being used to both spy on workers, exploit, and control workers. So welcome, Adrian.
Like I said, I thought this was going to be a panel discussion, so I didn't set anything up for a talk. But if we're talking about injured workers, I can at least tell you what I know. And a lot of it centers around Amazon, because that's where I worked when I started organizing. But this happens at a lot of companies, right? Because we don't have real protections, like Steve said. What I saw as I started organizing is, one, you have companies and Amazon. Part of the reason I think Amazon's important to focus on is because they're being held up as the gold standard of how you do business. So all these other companies are looking at Amazon and saying, oh, we want to do that too. Except I worked a lot with pregnant Amazon workers, a lot of women who were pregnant, and there's a systematic way that they go into, if you're pregnant, okay, great, we're going to try to fire you right away. So they have those little scanners, but those scanners are also trackers. And so I was talking to pregnant women who were like, I'm here, I'm 7.5 months pregnant, I'm getting docked for job abandonment, meaning they didn't show up to work that day while I'm at work. And so here you are, you've worked a 10-hour shift, you're 7-8 months pregnant, and now instead of going home, you're walking around a 1-2 mile warehouse trying to find an HR that may or may not be there. When those women are, the ones that aren't fired, they get modified duty orders from their doctor eventually, then Amazon just ignores the paperwork. So I've talked to multiple workers who have had miscarriages, at the warehouse, because you think about what you order at Amazon, right? You're not just ordering these little things, you're ordering, as a driver, I carried a barbecue onto somebody's porch. So that has to be carried in the warehouse. So these women are lifting 40, 50, 60, 70, 80-pound boxes while they're supposed to have modified orders, and it is possible. Another issue is just like the lack of training. So I don't know how you guys get trained, but I know things like forklifts and certain things require actual certification, but Amazon doesn't do any training. It's all peer-to-peer. So like if you come in and you're a week later than me, then I'm training you even though I don't know what I'm doing. So you have workers where like pallets are falling on them and killing them, where they're having major injuries. One of the big issues right now with Amazon is that they're actually causing disabilities. And then when that worker can't work, no longer can they can't work at Amazon, but they can't work anywhere else. And then because Amazon has in-house doctors, they say, oh, well, you have to go to our doctor first. And if I find it to be even more scary now because they bought One Medical. So now I'm sure those are going to be in the warehouses. And what happens is by the time the worker's like, okay, this is out of control, this doctor's not helping me, they go to their own doctor, and their insurance company are like, well, we're not going to cover you because you should have came to us when it first happened. So now here they are, they can't work at Amazon, they can't work anywhere else, and they can't even get insurance to cover their injury. I'm trying to think of what else for injured workers. I mean, it really is a ton of things. OSHA, even when you call them, I remember I was a driver, so I wasn't a warehouse worker. And I had taken videos, I had taken photos to try and show, like, here's the things that's happening. Here's the things that are against, regulations. One of the big things for drivers is that your van has AC. So every time you say, well, the heat regulations aren't being followed, they say, well, you have AC in your van. Except if you're working somewhere, like I used to work in Vacaville at the summer. That's where I would go. And if you're in like 100-degree weather, and you can't even stop your van long enough to cool down, then what happens is I've had myself and other workers take pictures of your thermostat in your van, because the van will tell you how hot it is. And people are sending pictures, it's like 123 degrees in their van, 124 degrees, 118 degrees. And if you leave your keys, because people say, just leave your keys in there, run the package in, come back. Except for people's vans are getting stolen. So if they find out you're doing that, you're fired. If you're too slow, you're fired. It's not set up in a way, especially if you're in a very urban area where stops are just back to back to back to back, you don't have any time to cool that down. So a lot of the injuries on the job for drivers is just heat stroke. I myself have had to be taken off my route for heat stroke. And you say like, okay, well, I need to cool down, and like, well, you're 3 packages behind, so I'm not paying for overtime, and you gotta figure it out. So drivers don't cool their vans down, they don't stop to eat, they don't drink enough water because there's no bathrooms, especially when COVID hit and companies were closed down. You had to depend on the kindness of like a mom and pops. And what I noticed for men especially is very difficult for them. Like for me, I can go in and be like, please, can I use your bathroom? And people would usually let me. But a lot of my male colleagues were like, nobody's letting me in. So this idea that Amazon says like, well, they're not peeing in bottles, they absolutely are. And you can talk to any gas station who services Amazon vans, and they'll say, yeah, it's disgusting. We have to throw that out constantly. But there's nowhere else for them to go, and it's so much pressure that people are cutting corners, you're speeding in school zones, you're running stop signs, you're running traffic lights, not because you're a bad person or even a bad driver, but you also got kids at home and rent and a mortgage to pay, and you can't afford to lose that job. So not only is it making it dangerous for workers, it's making it dangerous for the community at large, because drivers have to walk this, tightrope of excellence where you go fast enough to not lose your job, but you don't go so fast that you injure somebody. Yeah, most of my work now, I work for an organization called the Distributed AI Research Institute, or DARE. And so most of my work now actually focuses on AI and labor exploitation. So it's a lot around forced labor, not as much around injuries, because the issue with the way they're using AI is not that they're necessarily trying to, even though they are trying to speed people up, it's not that they're necessarily trying to make people go faster, it's that they're trying to get the data that is created from workers. So how do you get this? When do you get that? What decisions do you make? And that feeds their algorithms. So that they can not just maybe replace the workers, but so that they can also build these other industries. And I don't want to talk too much about that because I know we're going to go into the other panel, but I think the biggest thing, and I'm seeing this even with other industries, other unions, where I have friends that are in other unions and they're like, my bosses seem like they're working, or my union leaders seem like they're working with the bosses. And so the health and safety is the first thing that seems to go, that seems to be ignored. And then you'll hear people say, well, we have to get people from overseas because we don't have workers. But if we just trained our workers here and we treated them with some kindness, they wouldn't be hurt, they wouldn't be ignorant of new jobs, and it would be safer for everybody, the community as well as, the individual workers.
So thank you, Adrian. And I think that the struggle of the Amazon workers right now for a union is critical, because a union will provide some protection. Without a union, there are no rules. And it's interesting, in the Amazon workers, Amazon does not want to sign a contract like Starbucks, like these other companies, but actually in Sweden, Amazon knew that they had to recognize the union. So what they did is they subcontracted the work and signed a contract with a subcontractor. The subcontractor signs the work, Amazon subcontractor. So that way they don't have to directly have a contract. So our next speaker is Big V, Vincent Ward, and he has been one of the people who has Longshore worker who's been, he's not here? Or he's coming, okay. But I think that the struggle of the Longshore has been very important. Longshore has always historically been a very dangerous job. Workers killed on the job, okay? And this fight for union health and safety and protection is critical. And I thought at one time that longshoremen had protection, that they were being protected if they got injured on the job. But what we are finding out is actually that health and safety protection and workers' comp has been undermined. And the struggle that they're going through is a struggle to get health and safety, get protection on the job, and also get compensation when they're injured. And there are large numbers of longshoremen who have been injured. It's like a grinder. You get ground up, and that's what happens to a lot of longshoremen, especially with the heavy equipment. So our first speaker from the ILWU is going to be...
It's been a long journey for me. I got hurt in 2007 on the job, and Yeah, I got hurt in 2007, and
I don't care who you're president of the United States. Shit's gonna go down now. I ain't playing.
come on, put it
And I ain't
down.
gonna let you play with me no further. Whoever don't like it, step to me. And it ain't about no physical fight.
That's my Longshore brother right there. So he knows what I've been going through. Yeah, 2007, well, okay, let me go back. I got into the longshoremen in 2000. And when I came in, I was going to figure out what I wanted to do. Now, I've been in the carpenter's field, lather's field back in 1978. I got in as a lather. And before that, I was a carpenter, a rough framer in Stockton. But when I came back out, excuse me, guys, I got hurt as a lather. I went through my physical therapy. I always went to my appointments. I did everything, and I couldn't go back, so I worked out for 3 or 4 years, so I become a longshoreman. So once my doctor gave me release, I became a longshoreman in 2000. And at that time, they had started a mechanics program. And to be a mechanic, you had to have all these certifications and everything to be a mechanic. So all the brothers in the union hall, they didn't have that certification. But as a lather, we do everything. I'm a framer, I'm a metal stud framer, I'm a certified welder, I hang sheetrock. We do various of stuff. So when I came to the Longshore, I seen on the paperwork it says welder. So I'm a certified welder. So I went back to Laney College, got my certifications, and ILWU and PMA had a mechanics program that they put on the to the union. So everybody filled out their applications. I filled out my application, but I kept on my records. But this was a big, I say, smoke, because I was in a lather's program. I went to training every week after work. We got our training, and I got my journeyman card. But at the longshoremen, we had different classes spread out just on the weekends, 8 hours, Saturday and Sundays. I took all my classes, did everything, and I got called names out. Pete Daly, he's the one that started the mechanics program with PCMC. Now, back in 2004, it was a guy named, his name was Sean. I call him White Chocolate. He got his A book, but he got into the clerks. But you have to have, once you get the A book, you have to have 5 years to be able to transfer into the clerks. But he had, for 2 years, he got his time to transfer to the clerk. So it had a big old uproar at the union hall. While they was fighting about that, they had 35 mechanics, hear me, Flynn mechanics, coming through our back door, became mechanics. Now I'm here, I'm in the mechanics program, but these mechanics, they have more skills than I have. So what happened on my birthday, April 1st, so every year, April 1st and March, that's when they bring new people in to our local, April Fool's Day. And that's on my birthday. So when I found that out, I went home for a week, I came back, I started fighting for my jobs, and I finally got my mechanics job at Birth 30. But at that time, 24, they had mechanics that came into our local. These mechanics were upset because the machinists, their union was going down, and they lost 7 weeks of vacation pay. So they was upset. And Pete Daly told me, well, Harold, I want you to go over there to the 24 to work with these mechanics for a year, and then come back over here to 30. So I agree with that, because these machinists, they had better skills than I think that the mechanics had at the Longshore, because back in the 70s, they had a skill center down on San Pablo where you can learn all these trades. And all those guys that was in the skill center, they came down to the waterfront as machinists. Some black, some Filipino, some Hispanic, some, a little bit everybody came there, but what it is that we had some good black mechanics down at the Longshore, but as they got older, they retired, but they refurnished more blacks to come in. Excuse me. Oh, I'm sorry. I done broke your thing there, bro. I'm sorry, I'm kind of nervous too, so. Okay. Okay. Yeah. Okay.
This is a key to sound.
You know this is white, right? So she got to straighten up everything for him. But anyway, that's okay. Let it go. Let it go. Nah, let it go. Let it go. Yeah, let it go. Yeah, yeah. Okay. That's okay. I got. Just give him that anyway. But anyway, when you get old, you stop talking. You forget what you're saying. But anyway, I got in as a mechanic, working with these 35 machinists. And what I found out that working there is that the machinists that came into our local, when they retired, their family come in the back door and take their place. They don't come through the hall. They sneak them in that way. And I thought, when I found out in 2006, my mother got ill. She died of cancer. And I had a son coming up. And she's supposed to pass away on 6/11/2007. But my son was born 6/11/2007, and she died on 6/13/2007. And the insurance people made me go to Kaiser to see their doctor. And I didn't get a chance to come back and say goodbye to my mom. But anyway, I've been raising my son, and I'm sorry getting off. But anyway, what's going on is that they stopped my claims, and we got a brother here right now seeing the same attorney that I have, Henry. The attorney he got is, I can't think of his name. What's your attorney's name again? Come on. Okay, can't speak it. But anyway, his attorney was my attorney, but they stole a lot of money from me. I had 3 attorneys. One attorney got $10,000, packed a stretch. And I went to Stephen Baumburns. He got $23,000. And then I had a guy named Williams from LA. He got $35,000 from me. Now, you got a LS 208 form that they pay into your medical benefits. And at that time when I signed my settlement agreement, I didn't want to sign it because I told the judge they're doing stuff to me that I have a learning disability. They made me sign all these papers. But when I signed that one LS 208 form, it was $126,000. And then I had another LS form, was $136,000. I didn't sign that one. I signed the previous one. And I want to know, was that legit or not? Because somebody else got another $10,000 that paid from the labor board, whatever. But anyway, I'm still fighting a good fight. I met Paul from the hall. I see him at Kaiser. I said, brother, I know you, man. You was on the drill team. He goes, yeah. I'm Paul from the hall, yeah. We got this movement going on. We got to sue for $690 million. How much money you want? I said, I want the whole $690,000, man, whatever, because I got paperwork on everybody. But like I said, it's been a long struggle. I'm glad I'm not alone. I'm glad to look out here, see all the people out here. And I'm just saying, keep up a good fight, because what I had to do when they cut me off, I had to file for social service, get food stamps, and get money from me and my son, who's 9 months old, back in 2007. And I've just been working ever since. So now it had to force me to retire. But back in 2011, PCMC and their attorneys wanted to give me $677 a week. And now here it is, 2024, as I retired, they still give me the same money now as back in 2011. The cost of living, it went up. But there's a cap on my case right there. So that's what I'm fighting for, is to get hold. And the mechanics that they put in front of me, I like to get wherever they back in 2012, that's when we got promotion to get your A book. Nobody told me about that. The insurance people, they sent me on doctor's appointments. About 3 or 4 doctors I went to. As a matter of fact, I put my own money up, went to Dallas, Texas, and got my own doctor. He did a physical on me. It was in my favor. So it's been ongoing ever since then. So it's a lot of stuff been going wrong that we need to fix.
One of the issues that we face in relationship to workers on the job is systemic racism. And is Yuli Padmore here? Was she able to make it? Okay, we were going to have a little presentation on Port Chicago, because historically that struggle of the Port Chicago sailors against their dangerous health and safety conditions led to them being targeted and actually punished by the Navy because they refused to work on unsafe health and safety conditions. And it's commemorated every year, but I think it shows the treatment of black workers in this country, that they were retaliated against for refusing to work on health and safety bad, dangerous conditions in which they were even killed. So it's something to remember when we talk about the fight for health and safety on the job. So the next speaker is Pamela Price, and she's the District Attorney of Alameda County. But before she gets up, I wanted to say that you have a workers' compensation law, and you have workers' compensation fraud in California. And I have been, the Fraud Assessment Commission is a commission which was set up by the legislature to give money to district attorneys in the state of California to prosecute workers' comp fraud. But the reality is that commission is, guess what, going after workers, not going after insurance companies and employers. As a result of that, insurance companies and employers lie all the time about what's happening with workers. There's never a prosecution of them. And in my view, I and other workers who were injured confronted the Fraud Assessment Commission, and the fact is, they said one of the fraud investigators from Yolo County said he didn't know what workers' comp fraud by workers was. You know, so this is what their prosecutor was saying. But what we're saying is the money that's going in, it comes from a tax on the insurers, workers' comp insurers. That money is really not going after the companies and employers that are actually conducting workers' comp fraud and felonies. They should be going to prison, these people, because they're fabricating what's going on. I mean, really, what's going on. And it is really wrong, it's sickening, and it's a betrayal. And I think that's something that we have to bring up in California and nationally. There's one law for the companies and employers, and there's one law for workers. And that's the reality in the workers' compensation system. So welcome, Pamela Price.
See some folks here I haven't seen in a long time. I am Pamela Price. I am the first elected district attorney of Alameda County in 100 years. I'm also the first non-anointed, non-appointed district attorney in 100 years. And so when you have a change like that and the status quo kind of gets shook up, you know, John Lewis said, make good trouble. When you do that, people get a little excited and things, there's a lot of controversy. And so we are in that season of controversy. I'm honored to be here today just to have a few words with you to talk about what it means to stand as your district attorney in this season. I was, prior to being elected in November of 2022, I served in this community for 40 years as a civil rights attorney. I heard the sister talking earlier about Amazon. I had the privilege and honor of suing Amazon many times. So some folks know where I was on those spaces. Long before I became this public figure, I have been standing with workers and holding corporations and individual managers, as well as government institutions accountable. And as the district attorney, at the heart of what I do is simply flipping into a new role of holding people accountable. But as Steve points out, my role is not just to hold individual people accountable. For the first time in Alameda County, we are abolishing the double standard. And so this week I had the privilege and the honor of announcing the first time that our district attorney's office has actually sued a corporation, indicted a corporation, and the two corporate managers who basically were responsible for the fire at the metal recycling facility in West Oakland last August. Some of you all may remember there was a plume that was literally up into the sky and traveled all across the bay, had all sorts of toxic air and fumes in it, and really caused injury to our community. Unfortunately, that same corporation has a history of doing that. There have been 4 fires in the last 5 years. And often corporations have been able to come to the district attorney's office when faced with potential criminal penalties and say, well, we'll just pay a fine. In fact, this corporation had actually paid a fine of $4.1 million not too long ago. And yet the behavior continues because all they have to do is write a little check, keep on making billions of dollars, keep on hurting people, and going on about their business. Well, that changed this week in Alameda County. That's right, that changed. It was a signature move. We're the first county, we believe, the first district attorney's office in the entire state of California to have indicted a corporation and 2 corporate managers for environmental racism. So it is a blessing for us to be here. And so I'm honored to be with you this morning, and certainly in solidarity with the things and the issues that you all are facing. We do have a workers' compensation fraud division. It is at times misguided, but we are in the process of changing direction. And again, as I said, anytime you're trying to change something where you are telling the status quo this is not working and you're moving things in a new direction, there's going to be opposition. There's going to be backlash. And we were prepared for that. In January of 2023, when I was sworn in, within a month, there was opposition and backlash and questioning. And being the first black woman to hold this seat, I understand that there are people who ain't never been to law school. And I've been to law school. I have 2 degrees from UC Berkeley and a degree from Yale. My policy director has a degree from Harvard Law School. My chief assistant, between the 3 of us, all women, between the 3 of us, we have over 100 years of legal experience. But we are in a season where people who ain't been to law school want to tell us how to do our job. Y'all know how that's going to work out, right? That's not going to work out too good. We are going to continue to work on behalf of the people who live, work, and play in Alameda County. We will continue to stand in solidarity with workers. I'm proud to say that I have been endorsed by ILWU Local 10. And let me be clear, I'm not endorsed because I'm not a candidate, but what we asked was if you would stand with us to protect the win. Protect the win, because our democracy is under attack. Our democracy has to be defended. Coretta Scott King said that every generation has to fight for freedom. Every generation. We don't get a pass, okay? And because there are always people, and I'm reminded the head of our Victim Witness Assistance Division, who does a tremendous job in providing services to victims. She always reminds me that, Madam DA, you can't think that because, you know, slavery was okay or it was okay to oppress women and that the things that used to be happening that everybody thought they were okay. Everybody didn't. There have always been people who have been willing to stand up for what is right. There have always been people who have been willing to question the status quo. There have always been people who will say there's a better way. And today we look back and we honor those people. You mentioned Port Chicago. I am so blessed to have been able to argue a case before the United States Supreme Court. And there was no greater legal giant than Thurgood Marshall. Thurgood Marshall represented the brothers who were charged in that Port Chicago explosion and then held accountable and prosecuted unfairly, even as the Alameda County District Attorney's Office was involved in that case. So there's a long legacy of injustice in Alameda County that has been accepted, that has been normalized. But when we elected the first democratically elected district attorney in 100 years, the first black woman in 100 years, in November of 2022, we took a huge step forward. We rejected the past, and we said there has to be a better way. And I stand before you as someone who is committed to fight for that against whatever David or whatever Goliath comes into our community. And let's be clear, there are Trojan horses right now coming into our community. People who are speaking rhetoric about fear and crime, that's a Trojan horse. Because underneath that is some really dangerous right-wing ideology that is against the rights of workers, that is against the rights of women, that is against the rights of people of color, and they're hiding under politicized rhetoric that seems like it's exploiting our fears and our concerns, as we all have them. And as we should have them. We all want to live in a safe community. We all want to live in a prosperous community. That is the journey, that is the mission that all of us have to work towards that. And especially, I would be remiss if I did not say we have got to work with our young people. What this brother said about bringing your family members into the business, into the opportunities, that is so important. We have to train young people. We have to open the doors of opportunity for young people. And sometimes that's going to shake some folks up. And that means some people who got it, had it like that before, are going to have to make room for others who didn't have it like that before. And so that's the season we're in. We have to fight for what we believe in. We have to stand up for what is right. We have to reject rhetoric and fear and divisiveness. We have to come together as a community. And as your district attorney, that is the journey and that's the mission. That is my commitment to you. Thank you all for being here today. Thank you for allowing me to come and speak. God bless you.
I first met Pamela actually on a picket line in Contra Costa County against a corrupt DA, Peterson, Mark Peterson, who was allowing the murder of blacks and other people in the East Bay, and also was refusing to defend workers in the city of Richmond who were whistleblowers against the corruption at the city of Richmond, and they spoke out against it, and then they were retaliated against. So,
good morning, everyone. I just want to start here so we would all know what's really going on. Okay, here on the West Coast alone, there's 15,000 injured workers or more. But right here on our port, there's 2,300 alone injured. 2,300. Okay, and this has got to stop. We're not here by no accident. We're here for a reason. We're here because we've been injured. And not only we've been injured, it affects our families. It affects our pay cut. It affects our little ones. Okay? So that's the reason why we're here, because we're fighting back against the OALJ, which is Office Administrative Law Judges. They stopping you from getting paid. Do they care about your injury? No. I'll use myself as an example. I got hurt on the port, which, you know, we all did, okay? All right, but I'm explaining my case. All right, I got hurt on the port. I got hit by an outside trucker. I was in my tractor and all that. Head on. Head on. Could barely open the driver door. I couldn't hardly get out. The window was shattered in the front. It was cracked. It was cracked. You know what I mean? So I stayed in my tractor. Stayed in my tractor on the port. All right, here come these little white trucks. Y'all know who they are. Here come the little white trucks. Superintendent, superintendent. Do we speak to the superintendent? No. We don't need to. All right, so here come my boss. Boss pulling up. He said, y'all don't have to ask him nothing. He already told me what happened, what went on, and all this here. And all of a sudden they said, oh, well, do you want to get in another tractor? I said, no, what's wrong with you? I'm hurt, I'm injured. You know what I mean? I did not move. I got on the phone, called my BA and whatnot. That job had got replaced. He said, you want to get another? Oh, no, man, you tripping. I didn't get in on another tractor. I got out of there and I went to the hospital. Okay? Did OSHA arrive? No. OSHA did not arrive. You want them to come? You got to call them on your own. You know what I mean? I didn't even call them for myself, but I tell you what, I'm going to skip. I'm going to skip. I called them for another brother. I sure did, because it was on my mind. I said, wow, this is serious. Wow. This brother was losing oxygen while he was up there in the crane. You know what I mean? Yeah. He was losing oxygen to the brain. Yeah. Okay? So when I got the news and somebody told me, I said, where's OSHA at? So I didn't see him coming through the gate, so I called him. I called OSHA. And so, you know, 45 minutes later, here come the paramedics and all that. I said, so, hey, did OSHA arrive yet? Nobody said, no. OSHA didn't come yet. OSHA didn't come yet. So they gave us 3 days off. Did we get paid for those 3 days off? Why did we get paid for those 3 days off? Okay, so we not knowing what happened to the brother, but they gave us some time off because it was a bad accident. Okay, whatever, we don't know. But I'm lying in bed. 2 days later, actually, no, 1 day later, I get a call from SSA. Hey, they said, hey, did you hear anything else? I said, hold on a minute. What you mean? I'm not SSA. Hey, I'm at home in bed. I'm off work. He said, yeah, but did you hear anything else about what took place? You know what I mean? I said, no, I said, well, didn't you guys call them? You know, OSHA had called me, and he said, no, they didn't call until the evening, okay? Well, one of our brothers was in the morgue. He was gone. Did we get paid for being off? No. We didn't get paid. He was in the morgue. They didn't even say nothing. OSHA did not show up. So you see how we're being treated? Do they care? No, but our kids care. Our wives care. They don't care. Our husbands care, our ladies' husbands, you know what I'm saying? Yeah. It don't make no sense. You know what I mean? It don't make any sense at all. Okay? Here's 3 things. The Dirty Dozen. Longshore textbook and the OALJ. Okay? We're being attacked. We are being attacked. You know what I mean? And so, so we want to get, hopefully with Pamela Price in the future and whatnot, to speak on these allegations, to see how can we get compensated and see how we get some help. You know what I mean? On these things. To see how we can get some help. Yes. Yeah, so that, you know, I'm hurting too. You know what I mean? You know what I mean? And then they tell us, you don't have to, if you retire, you ain't gonna get paid, your case is dead. No, I don't believe the hype. It's a legitimate claim and happened on the job. You can get compensated. You can get paid. Just got to keep fighting. That's what we have to do. But we got to keep fighting. We shouldn't give up. We're not going to give up. We're not going to give up. We're going to keep fighting. But it's sad what they're doing to us. But if we don't take a stand, they're going to keep riding it. It's going to keep going on. It's going to keep going on.
One of our speakers is Desiree Rojas, and she is president of the Labor Council for Latin American Advancement. And what happened when COVID started is that we decided that we needed a campaign in California to hire, hi Desiree, I'll put you on in a minute, to hire 2,000, emergency hiring of 2,000 OSHA inspectors. Because we had a situation in California where people were getting sick. A lot of immigrant workers don't speak English. They weren't getting information about what was going on, about what to do to protect themselves. That's a requirement under OSHA in a situation, to get information in your own language so that you can protect yourself. That did not happen. At the Foster Farms chicken factory in Merced, 13 people died because they weren't getting protection, because they didn't have information about what was going on. We're talking about murder, and that company, those companies got away with murder. They were never prosecuted, and workers died as a result of that. So Desiree Rojas, that committee in Sacramento and others around the state took up a campaign to demand that they hire 2,000 OSHA inspectors. And we did a campaign, a petition campaign, and guess what? The California AFL-CIO, the leadership, not one word, not any demand on Newsom. Why wouldn't they demand that the government take some emergency measures to protect workers? They should protect workers. They come first. Frontline workers. People talk about frontline workers. Frontline workers were protecting us in the COVID pandemic. But there was silence by the AFL-CIO leadership. Why? Because they don't want to fight the Democrats. They don't want to fight the politicians. They were silent, and that cost lives. So welcome Desiree Rojas, and she couldn't make it. She had some health issues, but she's here to talk about the campaign of their committee and the fight for OSHA inspectors and protection of California workers. Welcome, Desiree.
Thank you, everyone, and I apologize that I was not able to be there with you personally. But in listening to this incredible introduction, I want to say that, as you know, we are living in a time of a very, very important need to be united, to organize, and to mobilize in our communities for labor, for workers. We know, and they've been talking statistically, that the near future or the future, regardless of who ends up in office, is going to demand that workers fight back even harder. The future is organizing workers, whether within organized labor or outside of organized labor. It's going to happen because of the economic situation that we're in and heading in today. But I'd like to get back to Cal-OSHA. Our chapter, I am the president of Labor Council for Latin American Advancement, Sacramento chapter. And we've done an enormous amount of years of organizing on various campaigns in support of farm workers, immigrantes, which we don't like using the term immigrants because we believe that we are indigenous people on our land. And if they can call and give an international visa to workers from all around the world, especially from Europe, then we should be also classified in that category also as international workers, not as illegals. No human being is illegal on planet Earth. The last I checked, this is our only home, is planet Earth. So getting back to Cal-OSHA, we wrote a letter in the middle of COVID asking the governor to pay attention to the need of oversight in industrial job basis like whether it's agriculture or in the industry of poultry or in the industry of any industry where workers were being overworked. They were not being properly trained. They were not giving PPE, personal protection equipment. They were not conducting enough oversight in those areas to prevent people from dying. And there's a little town in the valley that got heavily impacted where workers, almost everybody in that town ended up with COVID, and a very large percentage per capita of people died when that could have been preventable. So our basis of this letter was to say, step up to the challenge and hire 2,000 workers. You could do an emergency training, 1 week, 2 week of emergency training, of basic outreach, basic partnerships with health and welfare departments to help these new Cal-OSHA oversight administrators to go out into the job site and with proper PPE and conduct some kind of an analysis to determine what we're doing wrong, what we can do, and preventable measures. We saw a lot of this happening internationally where people stepped up and did these things. But at that time, we were the 5th largest economy in the world, and that did not happen. How is it that we're the 5th largest economy in the world and we don't have that emergency system in place? And I'll tell you why. Because our money is not being spent at home and it's not being invested in workers. Another thing and another reason, the second reason why this was so problematic is because they took down SB 562. SB 562 meant healthcare for all, everybody in, nobody out, including visitors that came to California. Now, this is a state legislation, not national. When you go to different countries, for the most part, when you travel, if you step into their hospitals, they don't ask you for their insurance. They service you. They provide a medical service to you, free for the most part. But in the 5th largest economy in the world, then that was still an issue and an argument. When people in this state who pay into the system and taxes and are overworked don't have the medical coverage they need, the Democrats who controlled the House could have passed it, and they didn't, because they're in the pockets of the pharmaceutical companies, the oligarch. But had we passed SB 562, we could have started a free nursing program, free medical assistance program. We could have been prepared for COVID. We could have rebuilt the medical industry in this state that would have created labor-protected jobs. And it would have been very easy to assimilate an emergency state program to conduct oversight of workers in every field up and down this state. We know how to do this work. We've done it before. We did a lot of it inside of the War Against Poverty program under Roosevelt. But they took all of that away. Reagan came in and especially removed a lot of these federal programs that were stepping stones for the working class to use to graduate out of programs and to be able to create a healthier and a better economic life. But they continue to take from workers. And they continue to overwork workers. And they continue to cause so much bureaucrocy in line with not protecting workers that they cannot hide this anymore. So what is happening today? What is happening today is we know what's going on with the wars, the genocide. We know that Americans are saying our taxpayer dollars at home now. We want our money invested now. But here is the reality. The reality is that people are going to other countries and they're saying, my God, their infrastructure is so amazing. We don't even have a light rail to get to our airports. We don't have these structures. Why? you know, they live in the future. No, these countries do not live in the future. This is a big mistake of our thinking. They do not live in the future. They live in the appropriate time of our era of infrastructure, of building infrastructure to provide services to their human population and to nature and to the environment. And that's what is missing in our country and in this state. And in order for us to build that and to demand it, is we have to unite and build and organize and mobilize on the basis that we want our tax-paying dollars at home to protect workers and to provide services to workers, and also to demand the infrastructure, whether it's for transportation, our roads, our clinics, hospitals, healthcare, you know, our loading docks, whatever it might be, that our money is reinvested back into workers. And the one way to do that is to start putting the pressure and the emphasis also on our nationals, our national unions, and also to start mobilizing in our community. Now, we never got a response from the governor, okay? We didn't get a response from the governor. But what has happened now is that through the form of social media and the form of organizing, like Steve Zeltzer has invested so much of his life, like my father, like myself, in the form of organizing, we are communicating and we're sharing our stories and we are supporting each other. And the one way we can support each other is we need to start from our local communities up, and we need to start running our own candidates. We need to start working with the people in our communities, and whenever the Democratic Party comes in to say, well, we're going to run our candidate against, you know, your candidate who's lived in your community his whole life for generations, we need to do a fight back. We need to resist, and we need to fight back and say, we refuse your candidate. We refuse your broken policies. You have not proven anything to us. They should be working to obtain our votes by supporting workers and by supporting our communities. And if we don't start doing that, this will never stop. But I can guarantee you that because of the economic situation we are in, there's no better time for workers to unify and to build our strength back and to roll that boulder back up that hill that has been kicked down by the oligarchs, to roll it back up and to say, ya basta, no more. You are not going to overwork us, and we are not going to be a part of the machinery of labor of working us to death. That is what I have to say today. And again, I want to thank you all for allowing me to have this time over the phone. And hopefully next time I'll be invited again, and I can be there present to be there with you. Thank you.
Thank you. Before we go to the panel, we have a musician who's going to sing a song about the situation of workers. Jimmy Kelly is a labor troubadour, a labor musician, and he's going to be singing a song for us about the situation of workers, what happens for workers who are dying on the job. So welcome, Jimmy Kelly.
Hi. Can't be too safe. This is a song actually written by a longshoreman. His name is Harry Stamper. He was working one day in Coos Bay, Oregon, on a ship where they load up the redwood trees and they put them on this big barge. They roll the logs down, they go into the barge, and then they ship them off to overseas. But this time he went to work, and the logs rolled down and they got stuck and they got all jammed up. And if you can just imagine 100-foot long logs that are 3 to 6 feet wide rolled down. Well, the boss says to Harry, he says, Harry, we got to get these logs out of here and rolling. He says, well, what do you want me to do? He says, I want you to take a cable and a crane, wrap it around the logs, and when I say pull, you run out of there and we'll try to pull them in to make them straight. Well, Harry was a longshoreman and knew about his rights at work. And he told the boss, he goes, you can just go in the parking lot and lick your nuts. So he called for a health and safety violation, and in the contract for the longshoremen in Coos Bay, they said if there's a violation of health and safety, you can shut down the job until an arbitrator came. So Harry, in his wisdom, got out his guitar, and he wrote down this song called We Just Come to Work Here. Well, I've been working here for 16 years, and I've seen a lot of changes come. I've seen people like politicians, and I've seen some bosses called bums. I've been sitting here working for safety. It must be a reason why. This is your part. We just come to work here. We don't come to die. I want to end up with all of my fingers. I don't want my brain to get numb. I want to hear the applause when retirement years, and I want to hear the people come. I don't want to be here working for safety, wondering why I'm here till I die. Said we just come to work here. We don't come to die. Cause if it's always level on the floor where you're working and your telephone's OSHA approved, you tell me how much you're spending on safety, pardon me, if I'm not moved. Cause ever since 1970, you know the law's been on our side. We say we just come to work here. We don't come to die. Now you and I know that things could be code, they could be fixed with relative ease, but we never did get anything by asking on our knees. Now I am looking you straight in the eye, shoulder to shoulder, side by side, saying we just come to work here. We don't come to die. Cause if it's always level on the plan where you're working and your telephone's OSHA approved, you tell me how much you're spending on safety, pardon me, I'm not moved. Cause ever since 1970, you know the law's been on our side. We're saying we just come to work here. We don't come to die. One more time, I said, we just come to work here. We don't come to die. Harry Stamper, ILWU.
We want to have the workers here speak out about what's going on and have an exchange so we can, and also come up with some proposals for action, because we want this meeting to come out with concrete actions that we can go forward with. Just talking with each other is not going to change it. We got to have an action proposal to get action and to get results. So
thank y'all for coming out. The young and the elderly and whoever, listen to me. See, when I came in the door, I might have been wrong when I came to the door with this sign, but please forgive me. This is just how I feel, and it speaks for itself. And there's no sense in denying a legitimate claim such as this. It doesn't make any sense. So what they're telling you is, we don't give a shit about you, period. We don't care. We don't care if you live or die. We're not coming to your aid. This is why we need to come together and stand up for each other. And the only way we're gonna do that is to come together. It's imperative that we come together. I mean, what we need to do is also get the word out there to everybody. Everybody needs to hear how we're being treated, because what they're doing is setting precedents. If they let this happen on my job, any other job or any other employer they're going to set precedents and do the same thing on your job. And once you go through it, then you're going to be in the on the same boat that I'm going down. And this don't make no sense. This is going on my 8th year. September 18, 2016 will be my 8th year. I have not got no compensation for this claim. This would have been my 25th year. We work, first, for number one, down at the waterfront, I'm a longshoreman. These fools are down here working. The contract been settled last year. Nobody's working with a contract. They won't even give you a contract book. What's wrong with that picture? What's wrong with that picture? You can't even get a safety book. What's wrong with that picture? What that's telling you is our rank and file officials are in cahoots with the Dirty Dozen and whoever, the judges, the lawyers. They're getting briefcases full of money, not to get your claim validated. It's imperative that we come together. I'm fed up. The reason why I came through the door like I did, because I'm stressing. I'm stressing. I'm finna be 68 years old. I want to retire. I can't retire until my claim gets settled. They waiting for me to fall off the map and die. Then the first thing they're gonna say, oh, we don't have to pay him. That's another one we don't have to pay. Please come together. Please, please come together and join me and show support, not just with the longshoremen, but any job, any affiliated job. Please, please, please show me some support. Because the longer we let this go on and don't do nothing about it, because the reason why they're doing it to us in the first place is because nobody has stepped up to them and ever challenged them. That's why they're doing what they're doing to us. Please come together. And don't just help me, because this ain't about just me and getting hurt right now. This is about the future of anybody getting hurt shouldn't have to ever go through this ordeal whatsoever. This is what this is all about. People need to come together. You should be fed up. It should be, this room should be packed. As a matter of fact, people should be there should be a line out the door for people trying to get up in here. Please help us. Please, please, please help. That's all I got to say. God bless y'all.
Hello everyone, my name is Kenneth Neal. I've been a Longshore since 1998, and I just want to give you an overview. This is for real, and you will not be the only one experiencing this. Now, these companies are making huge profits, but once you get hurt on the job, you become the enemy. So if you got family members down there, you better warn them now, either by AFLAC or make sure you have an emergency fund, because other than that, you will be out on the streets and out with no medical care. Once you have no medical, you cannot see a doctor, and your workers' comp is cut off, or else more likely they will cut it off. And you will have to be on EDD, and EDD only lasts 52 weeks. Now, when you're on workers' comp, you should be entitled to 104 weeks while injured until your doctor sends you back. And then if you're still under doctor's care, you're entitled to that 52 weeks. That's a total of 3 years. But what our officials is doing, you're not getting any help. So somebody's getting taken care of while our injured workers working hard, breathing in all those hazardous chemicals, and coming up with cancer and dying without getting their pensions. These are the reasons why. And I got injured while 4/18/2013 loading American Cup yacht racing boats. Now they have a new season of racing boats last weekend, I believe. You know those steel shackles that hook up to the crane and unload those $4 to $8 million racing boats? I got hit by a steel shackle coiled into the gearbox, and I have complex renal pain syndrome in the left arm and wrist. It's been around since the 1800s. My hands swell and painful till this day, and there's no cure for this disease. And they controverted my case, and I've been through numerous court sessions. I've even been through the 9th Circuit. I don't know anyone who went through the steps of the 9th Circuit, but my name is in the 9th Circuit. I went before the board. They still trying to deny me. So I've been fighting my case 11 years. So if you want to help us out and help everyone, be a part of this, because this is not only happening to us members that's up here now, it could happen to you, and what they're also doing is trying to stick you with the 13 years of a disability retirement instead of your maximum years if you go on the job for 22. So if they can force you out with that smaller pension, they'll do that. So they all both playing sides. The judges are, they all know one another. And the judge told me personally, you're gonna go live with your mom. You know what I had to do? I had to dump my place, I had to sell it. Because if you rent your place out, that's considered income. So they're gonna cut your workers' comp off in that aspect. So don't go that route. So you don't wish this on your worst enemy. Hey, no pictures, I don't need to be on no picture. Don't. Yeah, so this is, and not only that, I had, when I was going before a judge, this guy, Judge Berman, he had an assistant that started working for SSA. And these guys set up a fake deposition that they didn't even send to my home address. I'm still waiting for that letter. It was the insurance carrier's attorneys, the doctor, and I guess the other carrier. But they set up amongst themselves to have a deposition without me present and speak on my behalf to undermine the claim. So this is just happening throughout up and down the coast, but I can tell you that once again, you are fighting up against some of the worst enemy crooks in this industry. I'm just saying, I just want us to try to have a way that we can get an outlet and get our claims validated. But you don't wish this on no one. So that's all I have to say. But you're up against, these are the real dirty dozen. Not only that, they're writing books, they're getting paid off of Amazon on how to undermine your claim on all these different edition books. So my scheduled injury is supposed to be 312 weeks. They bamboozled me, so you will be bamboozled. So you don't wish this on anyone. So we need help, and help bad. And I yield a mic on it.
Thank you, brother. Now, one of the things that we can do is this administrative judge Berlin, I have some experience with, because I've defended workers, and they went before, one worker went before the administrative judge Berlin, and Berlin was saying, I've got to protect the employer. That was his statement. I have to protect the interests of the employer. That's actually what he said in writing. So I think what we have to do is, we have to have some actions to demand that they be prosecuted. They're corrupt. Who are they representing? They're representing the bosses. They're representing the employers. And people need to know that they're not representing working people, and they're actually on the take to these employers. Because if you're saying that you, in a decision, that you have to be concerned about the profits of an employer, what does that say? That the interests of the workers are secondary to the profits of an employer, the interests of employers? That's outrageous, and he should be removed from his position. And I think we have to bring people together and organize to expose that corruption. That's what we have to do, to let people know these people are not representing us, they're representing the employers.
Larry Thomas, 9678, retired. I'm retired because of injuries that I received from the Longshore. Went to one of the officials and asked why you don't defend us when they controvert our claim. That part. Told us we don't get it, told me we don't get involved in that. They are involved, but they're defending the company. But what do we pay union dues for? We should just have a regular non-union job to get treated like we get treated. The stuff that we handle, the country needs. There's no way that this country will survive without longshoremen. Now, the truck drivers take it to the city, but we take it to the docks. If it don't get to the docks, it stays on the ships and rot. You remember we had in, I think that was 2002, the walkout that we had, and all that stuff, a lot of stuff perished out in the bay. They called in a Taft-Hartley rule, and forced us to go back to work so they won't lose all that money. When you go out on that waterfront, you put your life on the line. You know, and a lot of our brothers and sisters don't protect us. You know, just like Vincent said, this room should be packed because there's a lot of longshoremen that have been hurt and killed on this waterfront with nothing. They get nothing. Their families get nothing. A little small insurance policy, I think it's like $10,000, I'm not sure. But it's very little for you. You know, I was a top pick operator. I have injuries to my neck. You know, when you're driving top pick, you're doing this all day. My knee and my right hip is failing me from doing this for 8 hours. I worked as a clerk, and if anybody's ever been to SSA and rode in one of those trucks, the seats have dips in it, the springs biting you in the ass, there's no back support, you know, and we are forced to drive these vehicles. I called the Cal-OSHA one year on an injury that I had about the equipment. They fined the port $5,000. That's a slap on the wrist. $5,000. They flush down the toilet every day. But if we can get our brothers and sisters to unite, that's what a union is a brother and sisterhood. And if we don't stand up for one another, who like all of us have been injured, what do we have? What's the phrase? Wait, my man just said something about injury to one is injury to all. That's a damn lie. It's dog eat.
Injury to one, injury to all, where y'all?
Yeah, so, you know, we all have friends in the union that we hang with, we talk to every day. We need to get in their ear. See, they're looking at that dollar that they're able to make today, but a lot of us I can't make that money no more. There's people in here that's injured so bad. I had 3 rotator cuff surgeries. I've had back surgery, hand surgery, you know, just all kinds of injuries. I took a job as a clerk, and I'm going to close with this. I took a job as a clerk. I'm on my way to my station. A mechanic runs a stop sign, broadsides, it hits me head on. Well, PMA staged where like it was my fault. They put the truck right in the middle of my truck, right? But now the whole front end of my truck, the truck was, you know, tore up. And so what I'm saying is they do things to disguise what actually happened. They cover this up. You know, luckily the people that was on the panel saw through it and granted that I was not at fault. But every day you go out there, like someone else said, you put your life on the line. And for what? I mean, we make a decent salary, but we don't make nothing what they make. That's a multi-billion-dollar industry that we work in. Trillions, yeah. They make more money than, but they give us pennies. So, yeah, exactly. And our officials are taking, I don't know if I can say it, but I think they're taking money. They're taking money. Exactly. Yes, yes. Well, I'm gonna say this. I had a case one time. So I go to the president. Which one? Melvin McKay. He told me if I do that for you, I have to do it for everybody. I say that is your job. What about your it's your job. If something happens to me on somebody on that property, you're supposed to come. If it's safety, you call the BA. He comes out, shut the job down. They used to shut the job down. BAs come out and negotiate. I had an incident where I was in Benicia. The vans are filthy. The ones that you ride in. Now this is during COVID. They put plastic covers over the seats. Plastic covers over the seats. So I refused to drive it. So the boss fires me. I call out the BA. I'm standing here, he walks right by me. Went straight to the bosses, got their information, and came back and told me, they say they'll pay you 5 hours and you go home. I went to work, I come to work for 8 hours. So they taking money out of my pocket, you know, but the officials are agreeing with the company. Yes. Thank you guys. Stay strong, and we gotta fight this, and we gotta get everybody that we know involved in this. Yeah, come together, get the press. Nobody wants to handle it because of the money that they have. You can't go to Channel 7 and get them to come down and make a report and put it on television. It won't do it.
Thank you, brother. So one of the things that we had Pamela Price, who is the district attorney, we got to document the workers' comp fraud that these companies are engaged in. If they fabricate an accident, to avoid their liability, they need to be criminally prosecuted. They need to go to jail. So we need to list all the fabrications of SSA. SSA officials should be in jail. They should be in jail for what they're done. They're crimes. If you and I fabricate an accident to get workers' comp, we will go to jail. They'll arrest us and put us in bracelets and take us away. These companies who are doing this need to go to jail. They need to go to jail. So let's compile and list the fabrications of these companies when there's an accident to limit their liability, and take it to Pamela Price and say, you need to investigate and prosecute these companies. We need to file workers' comp complaints with her, workers' comp fraud complaints with her office to say, you have to investigate these employers. It's a crime, and they have to be held accountable for their crimes.
My name is Berman Johnson. I got hurt on the 19th of December, 2022. I got hurt real bad. My mouth, I got busted my mouth up, my teeth, a rotator cuff. Anyway, so I had to go to the hospital. I had to have surgery. And I got hurt in December. They wouldn't give me my operation until October of the next year. Okay, then I started. I never got any therapy, nothing. Okay, so they started that the next January, and they cut it out in February. And in June, they cut me off. But in April, they sent me to the arbitrator, and he ruled that I could go back to work. I said, what am I gonna do? Oh, it's no light duty on the waterfront. The doctor that operated on me told them, their doctor, that I can't go back to work because there's nothing I can do. So I want to know what it's like duty on the waterfront. Why do they tell you that? Why do they cut you off? They cut me off in June on my workman's comp. I didn't cry because I know the Lord is going to take care of me. But if they cut you off, you go to disability, you're going to have to pay it back if you get a settlement. So if any brothers, like he said, if you can make it, don't go on disability. Because if you do, when if you got a lawyer to sue them, and which I do, and they're not around here, because the lawyers right here in with, especially SSA, they're not going to do nothing for you. And everybody that I know in LA and stuff, they do not mess with the SSA because they're not going to take care of you. That's all I got to say, and God bless all your brothers and sisters. I never got disability. I ain't never got it, so I never got disability. So my lawyer told me don't do it. So I'm a little financial. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Whenever your attorney settles with EDD, they negotiate that money. It's not the money you took. They want back. They negotiate for better money. Just so you know.
Yeah, there you go.
I lost a partner last year in February trying to get his case, somebody to fight his case, and he had all kind of shit on.
That's my example.
You know what I'm saying? Me and him we came to the executive board at least 3 times trying to get our claims, have these officials come to our aid, and all they did was pass a fucking buck. Let's put them motherfuckers out on Front Street.
That's what I'm standing up here for, because the basis of everything to deal with the union as a union member is your union membership and your officials. We pay dues, and if I'm not mistaken, it's going to be like $113 per week. And yeah, it is crazy. And for what? No representation. In fact, what has been the norm now at ILWU is if you get hurt, basically you become a pariah. Nobody wants to talk to you. Nobody wants to deal with you anymore. We really are just numbers. And to say, you know, injury to one is an injury to all is such a lie in 2024. Brotherhood, sisterhood, that is out the door. I believed in it. I fought for it. Unfortunately, I look back now on the last 2 decades, basically, of being a longshoreman and how things have progressed or lack of progress. Literally, there should be some faction of the union that helps members when they are hurt. There is none. There is nowhere to really go. It's truly dependent on who likes you, who doesn't, who you are. And in my case, I'm very outspoken, always have been. And I'm not a believer of voting down the line, blue, red, or anything. I'm a lover of truth. I like truth, regardless of, like Malcolm X says, regardless of who it comes from. Truth. And the truth is that the ILWU, unfortunately, particularly in this last decade, has, from my point of view, this is me. I can't say y'all feel this way, but this is me, that it has internally sold itself out. And to have a $90 million judgment come upon us, and now I believe it has been reduced to something like 20, but now we bear the brunt of all that. All these things are happening, but the workers aren't being taken care of in any way. To me, I've never heard of such. To have fellow workers argue with me that we have a contract. There's no way in hell I believe you can have a contract. How can you have a contract? What are they hiding? If you go, this is your livelihood. You don't have a contract to hold in your hand and read from. But 20 years ago, that was all that was pummeled into my head. Keep your contract book and your safety book with you. So where is this contract book? So if there is no contract book for you to reference and actually have a book, and you see no signatures, they have provided nothing for members online or otherwise to show that both parties actually agreed to a contract. Hell, you cannot go to work. Supposedly nothing should happen because you have no contract. If brothers and sisters were really caring about each other and standing up for each other and really caring about their own livelihood, they would test the livelihood of such said invisible contract. But no, it's like we're in a era of no care. It's like people don't care until it happens to you, until something affects your money. But the thing is, most of us aren't seeing the bigger picture. If you're not addressing what's right now, it's going to affect your money down the line. You have a contract. You think you have a contract. This is your biggest, most people's biggest bread and butter, whether or not you got side jobs or whatever. But you don't care that you don't have a book in your hand that tells you this is how I'm supposed to work. These are the regulations. This is what's happening. I mean, it's incredible for me to even see this happening. Maybe because I'm very sensitive. I'm extremely sensitive because the ILWU kind of, I felt at the time, saved my life. And to swear to something, swear an oath to something, and then have it come 20 years later, it'll be 20 years for me in October, 20 years later, and be just a joke, basically, to a lot of people, including some of our union officials who are definitely in bed with Pacific Maritime Association, blatantly in your face, because there is no other answer for their neglect of injured workers. No other answer. Nothing else makes sense for them to, you know, poke their chest out all the time and declare union, 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 but you letting these brothers and sisters suffer. And that's something I will never accept or never understand, because most members want to be proud of their union. A lot of them proud, but they have no knowledge of what's really going on.
Please tell them about yourself.
Well, I was a dispatcher. I was assaulted in dispatch by a member whose family is deep ingrained at the ILWU, and my officials protected him and did not do a thing for me.
Tell them what the consequences of what you're going through.
Well, what I'm going through is I have no income at this point. And income is relative to the work. I refiled workers' comp, and even before I did that, I believe they were following me and paying attention to me. And I've been a target, very targeted, because I tell the truth at the local as I see it. And I don't collude with other members against other members. Never have and never would. I've had officials cite me against Pacific Maritime. What union does that? I've had officials cite me 5 times for executive board and union membership business. These are the same people who rotate in and out of leadership. Do you understand what I'm saying? But the members who say, oh no, I'm not into politics, I just come to work and do my job. No, your very existence being a longshoreman is political. DC knows more about what goes on those docks than dock members do, dock workers do. And that's a shame. That is an absolute shame. Pacific Maritime does not like me because I do my research. I do my reading. I have informed members of things on the docks and whatever else may be in peril. Like when we had a ship that stayed, I mentioned this the last time, there was a ship that stayed out in the bay, almost 2 weeks. I kept wondering why they're not coming, why they're not pulling that ship in, why are we not working it? Plenty of these ships had all kind of explosives on them, but they don't tell you that. They don't tell you that. They were trying to make a decision whether or not to bring the ship in. They finally decided against it, but they wasn't going to tell the workers no way, no how. And every worker on the docks has a right to know via the clerk, if you wanted to know, ask them for that manifest. What's on the ship? And any any box on that ship that is hazardous, that contract, when it's in effect, everybody's supposed to be paid hazard pay. They don't want you to know any of that because they don't even want you to pay that extra 50 cents or whatever hazard rate it is at that time for each member that is appearing at work when you have a box on the dock that is hazardous. But those are things, like I said, even in my short time, because it went so fast, from 2004 to now, it's like night and day. Night and day. They are literally in your face working with Pacific Maritime against members. And I'm sad to say that because a lot of members will think, oh, you against the union, you against this. No, I'm not. I'm very much for what the union stands for foundationally. The 10 guiding principles, our Constitution, which every member should have. They don't want to spend the money to even upgrade a Constitution for you to read. So we are really slaves because what? They kept the slaves from reading information even if they knew how to read. But everything that comes through those doors at 400 North Point, the Balma, if you are a registered member, you have a right to read everything. That's by law, but they're keeping it from us. And my fight with them was mainly because I've asked for so much documentation behind my pay. I've wage theft that they don't want to know about. They don't want people to know about. I'm sure they owe me all kind of money. I just don't even know how much at this point. I've asked for agreements. No such thing showed up. But those are the things. And I really blame the members because the members were ingrained with this is a bottom up. This is a bottom up. We direct the officials. We tell them what to do. But we have been collectively, as a membership, just lying in wait, sitting ducks, basically, just waiting for them to tell us whatever is whatever. And we believe, oh, Trent said, oh, Melvin said, oh, this said, oh, that said. I got a gang of paperwork where just the basic things that are in your contract or were contracted say our union isn't doing. Even LRCs, you're supposed to have 3 on each side. I've got documents where 2 members from the union signed and 2 or 5 members on Pacific Maritime signed. They're supposed to be equal signatures on both sides. And that was contractual. But these are things they put into action in the union, but you only had 2 members. Oh, Trent and Melvin went to this LRC. Or such and such went to this LRC. But no, it's supposed to be an equal amount. So you're keeping that 3rd person that may oppose what you're doing out of it. And basically, that's where it lies for me. I accept that I'm always going to be a target because I am for truth, the truth. And the members have been just basically ripped off, the hurt members. There's that book. I'm going to say one last thing about the book. The Longshore textbook. I could not get a single attorney to help me. Do you understand? Because I have that over my head. Don't fool with her. Not a single attorney in this whole area. I've had an attorney prior to the assault that happened. I went after them through the EEOC and the NLRB. The union came back and PMA, oh, we didn't do this and that and the other. I was just really shocked and in a depressed state. I didn't push it because I was just like, this is maddening, you know. And to see that all happen now, and when at that time I had gotten an attorney, she was gung-ho for me. When I told her the things that were going on, and she was like, how do you work like that? And she didn't believe these things went on the docks. And next thing I know, maybe 2 or 3 communications after that, I didn't hear nothing from her. She didn't write me a dismissal. She didn't give me no call. She didn't go out of business. Yeah. That's what I believe. She saw my case as a tremendous case, but then they saw her and paid her off. That's all that ever makes sense.
The third attorney said to me, she said, "Woo, you got a great case." And just listen to what I'm going to say. And listen how I'm going to phrase everything. She said, "Woo, you got a great case. And when we get done with your case, we're going to file a class action suit in your name and on your behalf." So I'm riding, one day I'm riding in my car and I got my Bluetooth on and I answered my phone and it was this same attorney. And the same attorney said, "Guess who just called me?" And I said, I wholeheartedly said, "Who, Tony Walker?" She said, "Yeah!" Like she hit the motherfucking lottery.
Yeah, I mean, that's really...
Listen. And so the next, it was on Friday, she had me come in on Monday and sit in her office. And I'm gonna tell you just like this. I gotta show you this, and I got a back from my accident. I'm gonna show y'all something. She was sitting there like this. I'm sitting in the chair like this. And I'm a big motherfucker, so watch this. She was trying to get me to sign some documentation without me reading it. And I told her, no, I'm not gonna sign it, right? Until I read it. That's when she opted out of being my attorney, but she was sitting where she couldn't even get out of that area right there.
Oh, she knew that was her payday.
All I had to do was do this, right? And lift the whole desk up and throw it in her lap. But I'd have been in jail, but I'd have made my motherfucking point though.
But this is what we up against, y'all. And you know, it's like I said, it's the saddest thing. Until it happens to you, it's a shame that our membership, like he said, isn't full here, isn't showing up for us. Because it's like once you're gone, you're just a number, and very few people might check in with you, how you doing, whatever, but it's far and few in between. You are left literally on your own. You really...
Tell them about the oath.
Well, like I said, that's what I'm saying. I've never pledged to anything other than the ILWU. And like I said, I'm super sensitive. So to raise my right hand and pledge that I will never put another brother or sister in distress, that's important to me. But they did it to me constantly. But anyway, thank y'all.
Good afternoon, everyone. I'm Gambrell. I'm a casual with the ILWU Local 10 San Francisco. I'm speaking wholeheartedly off, from my own perspective, from my own thoughts. And I'm extremely new within this industry. I just wanted to state a few of the things that were brought up. And I am sitting in this room as basically a fly on the wall, trying to learn from you all, trying to support in any way that I can. And thank you, Brother Paul from the Hall, for letting us know about this happening. So I wanted to state I am a casual from Local 10. I am a part of the JAPC, which is the Joint Accident Prevention Committee, which is formed by the union, and it's a joint meeting we have with the employers as well regarding safety. All things safety. So these aren't our like elected officials per se, like the president or BA. It would be members that choose to take these positions, like you and I, to fight for the membership against the employer. So there are about 3 people on that committee and myself, and there's a few in the room, where we speak with the employer about any safety concerns, safety accidents, if you did get hurt on the job. And from the employer side, they usually try to run through the agenda. And from the union side, what I have seen that the union has a hard time with continuing the conversation and making sure that your voices are heard. So I just wanted to state from my perspective is that if you do know anybody within the industry, or if you are still within the industry at your local, if you guys have a JAPC committee, to speak with those committee members about exactly what happened from, your words, whoever else was there, and it's every first Monday. It's a closed meeting, but so what, right? It's a closed meeting that happens at the training center, First Jefferson Street in downtown Oakland. That they have this meeting to speak about accidents that happened the month prior and so on and so forth. This happens every single month. So there are some things that's in place. It's just how you guys have all been saying we have to fight for it. We have to continue the conversation. We have to work together. And I've realized there is a ton of power in our labor. It's a ton of power in our membership. There's a ton of power in us educating ourselves and sticking together. So we just have to continue to do this, and I'm here to learn as much as I can from you and to try to push for progression like Ms. Stacy had expressed, progression for all of us. I'm dead.
And what I'm hearing is the same story over and over, which is unions colluding with the bosses, is what it sounds like. And so because of that, it may be effective to start branching out outside of ILWU and like talk to the nurses, find out what their unions are colluding with their bosses. Talk to, I know Unite Here is happening with the hospitality workers and their unions are colluding with their bosses. And if you can show a pattern of collusion between high-level union leaders and all of these bosses, at the very least, you could work on some kind of shame campaign, because those campaigns work, which means it's not union shutdown, but it's the public who don't even work at unions saying this is messed up and I'm not gonna, work here, or I'm not gonna support this, or I'm not gonna support that. And that's very effective. So it's a lot of work, and I recognize, like I said, take the idea or leave it, but I think it might be beneficial to start reaching out to people in other unions and figuring out what's happening to them with their, injuries. Figure out what the union does when they're attacked. Because I know with hospitality workers, I'm hearing like, room cleaners and stuff, and they're getting raped in the rooms, and they say, well, you gotta quit because this is a high roller. And so if you can start showing that this is just a pattern of behavior from high-level people, and then get, somebody to write some kind of explosive article that says, oh no, it's not just happening at the ILWU, it's happening at Unite Here, it's happening with Teamsters, and we can show you who and when and why it's happening. And so this is why we want to be pro-union, but we can't do it till the union is pro-us. So that's just a suggestion.
I'm Brother Mark, ILWU Local 10. What we're up against is a spirit of not reaching out to each other. We are very complacent of making this daily wage. This is the core of us hurting each other, because the power is in us as a collective. As individuals, we're targets that are easily knocked down and dismissed. Now, I heard somebody up here say that we put our lives on the line every time we go to work, and that's true. And we knock off a little bit of our lives just being there just a little bit faster if we wasn't, because we are breathing in cancerous particulates and substances that collect in us, and you can't get it out as fast as it gets in. You can exercise, you can do all that you can, but the important thing is to know is the administrative half of this country, along with certain medical areas in this country, certain medical personnel in this country, judicial system, the systems in place that are supposed to protect us have gathered against the working class. What we have to do is we have to stand up. Anytime that we don't stand up as a collective, the administrative half of this country starts eroding and weathering our rights, our liberties. They start taking all that back as soon as we stop standing up. I heard Ms. Pamela get up here and say every generation has to fight for their rights. That's what we are taught at the ILWU. Except this daily wage that is better than most, I must admit, at ILWU. I am appreciative of our daily wage, and we deserve some more. And let me say that. Let me say that. Hazardous pay. I've heard somebody say hazardous pay. Tonnage as well. We deserve a lot more. But what we earn is no joke compared to the next person. Don't mean that it's keeping up with the rate of inflation. Can I ask y'all in the back? Okay. So it doesn't mean that we keeping up with the rate of inflation. It just means that it's better than most because we are part of a union. But if we don't reactivate the unionism that's supposed to be active between members, it's all gonna go to those who are on top, not that are on bottom. If we don't raise our voice and come together as a collective, then there will be no forward movement for the worker. There will be only forward movement for the corporate and profit have. It will be your risk and their yield. Higher the risk, the higher the yield. First rule of business. But if we don't take care of our business as a collective, we have no business. All that we are numbers that they're gonna knock off as soon as, and trust me, sooner or later, you're going to be injured on a small level or a large level. Sooner or later, you're going to be injured if you're down here long enough because this is a very high risk job. That's why they give us the wage that they give us. So,
just Google Longshore hazards. Just Google that.
What you say, Longshore hazards?
Just Google Longshore hazards.
I'm not gonna keep y'all. What I'm saying is this.
You'll see the danger.
What I'm saying is this. When we came up upon these rights through the 60s and 70s of our forefathers and mothers that gave us houses and better pay and medical today, that doesn't stop once we get into position where we receive those gifts that they gave us. That doesn't stop. That fight never stops because as soon, I'm gonna say it one more time, as soon as we relax, corporate America start pushing us back towards slavery. Believe that. It was built on it. My people was taking the most advantage. Everybody who stepped down on America was taken advantage of. We just happen to be the slaves that was stripped of all our humanity and history. Soon as you stop fighting, they start pushing towards slavery. Because that's the highest yield that they can make. I appreciate y'all.
Thank you, brother. And, you know, our next session at 1 o'clock, we're going to have a break, is going to be on artificial intelligence, AI, and robotics, because their plan is to get rid of all the workers in Longshore, all the workers in retail, all the workers in healthcare. The reason they're pushing for that is to eliminate workers. They're saying 350 million workers may lose their jobs. So we have to focus on what is AI, robotics, and what are we going to do about it. That's our next session at 1 o'clock. So I want to thank you for joining us. Closing song by Jimmy Kelly. Welcome, Jimmy Kelly.
I'm going to sing this song. It's by Bernice Reagan of Sweet Honey, the Rock just passed recently. When I heard it, it was one of the best health and safety songs I've heard. And if you want to join me in the chorus, you can. We bring more than a paycheck to our loved ones and family. We bring more than a paycheck to our beloved ones and families. We bring more than a paycheck to our loved ones and families. We bring more than a paycheck to our loved ones and families. We bring asbestosis, silicosis, brown lung, black lung disease, and the radiation hits the children even before they hit conceived. We bring more than a paycheck with our families and families. We bring more than a paycheck to our loved ones and families. I want to be more than a pay, but what I got here today is more than I bargained for when I walk through the door. We bring asbestosis, silicosis, brown lung, black lung disease, and the radiation is see. Well, now workers lend an ear, cause it's important that you know that with every job it's fear, that disease will take its toll. It's not disease and injury, may befall our lot, and if not injury, then stress that will tie us up to knot. We need more than a paycheck for our loved ones and family. We bring more than a paycheck to our loved ones and family. We bring more than a paycheck. Thank you.